Welcome to our next episode of Connectors Club. Today I've got Felix Perez from, Felix Perez Consulting. So that's where we're at now. But I've known Felix for a long time. Back, we often, when we get together and we're introducing each other to people we know, we talk about how I met you. And then it goes back to Salvation Army days when you were leading development for that. And then, I've had a couple of other roles in different development situations and then leading up to where you're at now. So, but great to see you and have been able to work with you with some clients recently. And that is when I've seen you in person, which of course has been, pre-pandemic. It's been a
Yeah.
little bit of time. So yeah, welcome to this little interview series. I've had a lot of fun talking to folks about what they like about networking and relationship building, and I knowing when I first met you and all the people that you were dealing with when you were bringing in the folks together for that Salvation Army event, I knew that you were extremely well connected, and you've helped make many introductions for me. So you must enjoy it. So I'm assuming that it's not something that you're doing because you have to. So that's
Yeah.
really the first question. What do you like about that, and how do you enjoy relationship building and just working with people?
Well, I remember that Salvation Army, the events that we would go to and how we would talk to the business community and really the leaders and get them engaged, aware, and involved. And that's really what I like about networking. I mean, I can remember being, a young banker and not knowing anybody and getting my first title, behind the position. And Wally Altus was somebody who, was so kind. I went to a chamber event. I went blind, just signed up. And Wally actually just, met me at the door, shook my hand, asked some questions. And next thing I know, 3 or 4 people are coming in, and everybody knows Wally, obviously.
Right.
And he's introducing me to them as if we'd been friends forever. And I just always remember that and really appreciated it. So I always wanted to be able to give that back. And, the only thing I always do ask, when I do network is that I ask people to be really respectful of relationships, and to really bring their best side of themselves as a professional and as a person, and they're going to get so much back because of that. And really, our friendship is a perfect example of that. When I give your name for anything, I have this great confidence of what you're going to be able to achieve because I know your skill sets and I know your mindset and the way you approach and your creativity. And when you're networking, I would say don't make it a thing about volume. You know, it's great to have 1,000 business cards. I have almost 4,000 in my LinkedIn connections. That's
Right.
phenomenal. But really make it about quality. And for me, it's just a joy to meet new people, to learn about them. We each have our stories, and I learn a lot about industries that way too.
Right. Yeah. I remember I've been to some either chamber events or breakfast events and so on where people would just hand their cards around the table like they're playing cards, like
Yeah,
like we're playing poker or something, and there's no depth there. It's a volume thing. Like how many people connections have I made? Is anything really going to go beyond that morning if you didn't really have a conversation? So
right.
yeah,
Yeah, like why would you call if you really didn't connect, right? So it's and you can't connect if you're being fake, so to speak, right? So you want to bring your true self and really have an interest, curiosity about what somebody does and why, what got them there. And as you find those questions out, you should be able to see some concentric circles to things that you're doing. Being in consulting, it really came about because I've got all these experiences with so many companies and so many people, and a lot of people that started off their careers are now in leadership positions, in our region, and they remember those days, where we were talking about what are your dreams, what are your goals, come and meet this person, come say hi. Well, I don't know what to say. That's okay. Just go with the flow. And you can structure a conversation where it can be general, but it can still lead to that connection in business. And I think that was really the most important part. And again, being pure with it.
right, right.
Yeah.
Well, just the genuine interest in people too, because I know that, just from hearing, when I've had conversations when you've met people and you're trying to learn more about them, it's not just what their title is, and then, that how can they help me kind of thing in their head, and it's not what it's about. It's truly learning what they're interested in, and you have a long enough conversation with somebody, there's plenty of overlap. You find it. It's just
Oh,
easy.
absolutely. Yeah. And it really
Yeah.
makes for a long-term connection that way, you know? I'm still waiting to hear you sing at a ballpark. So
We'll get there. Well, I guess we need to have the public at ball games and not just cutouts in the seats, but we'll get there too.
there you
Um,
go.
so, from that first experience with Wally introducing you to folks, and then you going to plenty of events too. Either tricks or strategies and so on, and things that you employ when you go. It's not, and now it's probably just part of the subconscious. It's not like, okay, I need to do these 3 things and make sure that I've got this ready and say this line. But what anything that you've employed just as a chance to either meet folks or work your way into a conversation that maybe you wouldn't normally have engaged in. But yeah, what recommendations or suggestions might you have for someone looking for guidance
Yeah,
there?
sure. For me, learning what the different industries need. I've been told several times by a lot of company leaders, CEOs, heads of development, heads of supplies, acquisitions, mergers, those kinds of things, that they were amazed at how I knew which client was important to them, which supplier they needed to get in front of, things about their industry that were changing. So for me, it was a curiosity about why would they want to talk to me? What can I provide back in the days as a banker? What can I provide as part of the board for the community foundation, which I served that role? What can I provide as part of the mayor's strategic development for Albany? And then as I went to Salvation Army, people approach faith in so many different ways. What was important? And I felt that the spirit of what William Booth did to start the organization, people really didn't understand what he was trying to achieve. And they think salvationist, and they think, well, I'm not a salvationist, but really it's just about helping people. And how do we do that? And if you're a corporation, how do you give back and help create an employee experience that's really going to reflect well on your company and keep your employees longer and keep them happy and engaged outside of work? And it always goes back to they'll meet people that they'll do business with. So the kettle campaigns that we started, and I reached out to Megan Baker at that time. Megan had just got out of her broadcasting, and she just hung up a shingle. I said, Megan, if you come with me, we're going to do some videos and we're going to tell the story. We're going to follow the programs and follow the dollar, and people will understand why the bell's ringing, and they'll hear it a little bit differently. And it was a huge success. And, I remember, at Zone 5, when we would have the rooftop parties and we would bring over new people, everybody loved the great experience of being on the rooftop, but even more so, they loved those conversations and getting to know about each other and about what kind of business we were doing. And you were always good at bringing those congruent circles together with me. And we would say, hey, you got to meet each other, because it was good business, and it really helped.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that you're hearkening back to a time when we all remember when we used to be able to do things like rooftop parties, right?
Yeah.
And these, where we actually see people and not just this digital version that we have. But
Yeah.
once we got past this just being a few week or month thing, and this turned into a longer period of time, we all had to make some adjustments and get to work with what we've got in front of us, the tools that we've got. Luckily, we're in some great technology now that we've got in front of us. But how's it been for you during the pandemic, as far as keeping connected or making new connections, especially because that's even harder.
Well, I also have a 3.5 and a 1.5-year-old, so
Okay.
it was challenging. They don't understand. Daddy's got to go down to the basement and hook up, and be in there, and mommy too. Mommy with a lot of meetings with legal clients and things. So creating the balance and the expectations at home, and working together as a team, that was really important. With the clients, it was really understanding the same thing in their lives. It'd be funny to be on a call and then you see somebody's significant other or child or pet, running in the background, making a noise. That's our real life, right?
Right.
It's not what we do in our meetings. It is right on the road. So I think adjusting to that was good. And I always tried to be concise and clear, in advance of the Zoom meeting, so that I was being respectful of their time. I mean, you run the stats all the time on the spoken word versus the written word, the attention span, and what do you do to catch someone's interest, and how much are they going to remember, of what you're talking about. So you want to make it really key to what's important to them, but then tie in why you're also important to what they're trying to achieve and how you can help them get there. I think Zoom has been great, because you're still able to connect visually with someone, and you don't lose time driving back and forth. I mean, we know how bad our traffic can be, right? Weather and things like that. You can kind of control that a little bit more. You can work things in a set period of time, have your Fridays off if you choose to, and your Mondays, and really spend family time or friend time, and even spend time just learning more about different industries and things. And I've tended to go on more webinars and things since I've been able to do Zoom, because I've had that free time so I can learn about certain industries. I mean, we're working with some research scientists right now, and I've been able to go into webinars that, have come up and turned into business by understanding the webinar information, and then being able to tie it directly to what my client could do for them. That
Right.
never would happen if we weren't in this time period right now.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a common thread of conversation is the time saved by not being in the car.
Yeah.
Efficiency. Now, there are other things we miss from not doing that. Either decompressing or preparing for a meeting and so on.
Yeah.
But and I may have mentioned this on other interviews, but I've always been a FaceTime person, but I could see, doing the first meeting that way and then follow-ups like this. So that, in the whole scheme of things, that does create some efficiency, and it gives us time to do other things like webinars or sleep or, other things
Yeah.
that you kind of need. Now, that's a nice segue into what's, as we're start seeing things open up as we're in this time of the year with weather wise, and also with, vaccinations and just numbers and so on, being able to see more people in person and do some hybrid events or live events and so on.
Yeah.
Uh, how do you see networking and relationship building working as we, dare I say, a post-COVID era? Once we get to that point where this can be behind us, how do you see that working? This is a little bit of a crystal ball action here, but what might you what do you think might be the future here?
I think personality types are really going to come out, right? So, what quadrant does somebody fall into? They're going to be a little bit more apt to go out and start seeing people right away, be in more public places right away. Others are going to be a little more shy from that, continue in the Zoom content for a little bit more until they can get comfortable. But I really feel strongly everybody's going to come around. I think we miss the experiences. I think we appreciate them more now, and I think we'll be a little more critical, a little more choosy of what we do and how we do it. But I think we really understand that to bring value, you really do have to think about that. And when you do that, you're going to get so much more back. I think about my friend Bob Belber, right? I mean, look at that facility. How many shows did they put on? How many teams, and the success, and how many experiences did we all enjoy because of that? And think about how he turned around and really carried them successfully through this pandemic. Is coming out on the other end of that now. I mean, I have so much respect for him. And on the other end, Regional Food Bank, and what, Mark Quant has done, and, they're looking for a successor now there. Those are things that in a pandemic time, you really had to change your game and your approach in order to be successful, to be able to hit a clientele, to keep your staff employed. And I really have a lot of respect for those guys in achieving that. I think that at least everyone that I know is really looking forward to this, because when you're in development, when you're in consulting, you're in the people business.
Yep.
And so, to get that meeting, to be in front, it's just a different vibe, I think. And I think we've done great balancing through this time, but I see people really, really anxious to get back and enjoy. And I loved your virtual happy hours and coffee sessions. It's a lot easier to drive home after one of those happy hours. You don't have to worry about having more than one drink, So good times, I think, and I appreciate you for doing that.
Yeah.
And good combinations.
Yeah, and I think that's, from the other conversations, and also, the best you can do to predict now is just that we've all learned how to use this technology, and hopefully we can see the advantages or the opportunities for which one for
Yeah.
the application. It'll be interesting to see how hybrid versions are developed, if you're able to do, because one of the things about hosting the coffee and happy hours is that the reach is far greater. I can go
Oh,
across the country, across the ocean, and you can and then you can sign off, and then you're at your meeting, at your house, at your office, wherever.
yeah.
So you can include many more people than who are physically able to be there. So that'll be really interesting to see how that we can match or mix that up, because it's not, everybody knows it's not going to be a light switch and all of a sudden everybody's back to the way they were. Because
Yeah, exactly.
Many times.
And I was just watching one of the NCAA games, and at halftime when they were commenting on the defense, one of the commentators actually went behind the screen that was showing, and he appeared up on the screen that was the video of the game itself. So as they're playing back what happened on this certain drive to the basket, the commentator's now there and he's pointing out to the different areas. And I was like, wow, wouldn't it be cool to have virtual events where you could do that? You drop into a room, and you're in Germany or, whatever, Switzerland, and all of a sudden you're engaging that way. So yeah, I see a lot of different applications for it. I think they can be really exciting. And I think it does give us so much more power to connect at such a higher level and across, so many different channels. Yeah, because it's hard for people sometimes to be there physically,
Right.
And think about the parking, remember all the big events and, 1,000 people. Well, guess what? You don't have to worry about that parking if you're controlling it differently.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. It did force creativity. It made people think in different ways, and maybe some of these things. Well, definitely not. Maybe some of the things were developed a lot sooner, just because the need was there first, and then one idea brings another one out, and just another creative way to present and interact and so on. So I think it's all for the better. It's just gonna be interesting to see how it all rolls out, and what really clicks and takes on. Or is it laser disc, or is it a beta, or is it something that that's really gonna zoom, just as it's just become kind of the industry standard here. But
Yeah.
but that's what we're
It'll be
using.
fun to track it.
Well, that's what we're using now, because it's easy to record and put this out there on YouTube and LinkedIn and so on, so people can see it. But I do appreciate your insight and your thoughts, and great to see you
Thank you.
again. And then we'll see you
Yeah.
in real life at some point soon. But so thanks again, Felix Perez, for being on
You're welcome.
this
Appreciate the time.
episode. And yeah, we'll get this out there for the masses to see soon, and we'll see you in person hopefully really soon.
Yeah, definitely. Paul,
All right.
thanks so much for everything you're doing.
You got
Take
it.
care, everybody.